It is time for the Culture Blaster, Michael Snyder. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Welcome in, Michael Snyder.
Hi, Kim. I don't hear the
Hi.
rainbow. Oh,
There
wait, there
you
it is.
go. That's nice. And here you are. Welcome
Yeah,
aboard, Michael Snyder.
rainbow interrupt us. It's okay. Hey, Kim,
Yeah.
before we start, I want to thank the Nobel Committee for
Mm.
honoring me with this year's Nobel Pizza Prize for my tireless efforts to convince people to never put pineapple on pizza. And I know of your Hawaiian connection,
I
Kim, but
love pineapple on pizza. That's my jam, Michael Snyder.
pineapple on pizza is an abomination. It's a crime against humanity's taste buds, and I have devoted a portion of my life to railing against it. So thank
Well,
you to the Nobel Committee. And one more thing, breaking news. The
yeah.
headliner for the upcoming alternate Super Bowl halftime show was just announced. It's the patriotic singing and dancing troupe Up with Whitey. So I'm really excited about that.
There you go. Here we're gonna all tune in for that. Thanks, Turning Point. Well, Michael
Uh,
Snyder, you come with a million movies, and we've already talked about one of them. It's supposed to do 45 to 50 million dollars in its debut weekend. It is Tron Ares, and Tony popped in and said he already saw this movie. He was horrified by it. He had very strong opinions, and I can't wait to hear what you thought.
Well, I'm glad we're leading with this because, it's kind of the 5,000 pound gorilla. Is there such a thing as a 5,000 pound gorilla?
If
It
you
is going
say
to
so.
dominate
Yeah.
dominate the box office. It's the third movie in Disney's Tron franchise, following 1982's watershed Tron and the lesser sequel in the 2000s, Tron Legacy. And they introduce and expand upon a digital world that is discovered by a kind of gamer back in the day, played by Jeff Bridges, a guy named Kevin Flynn, and he discovers this world inside video games and enters this digital world of the grid in that first Tron movie. And the story continues. And before we go any further, I have to say it is visually stunning. There are awesome action sequences. There's a thrilling, high-powered soundtrack from Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails and his composing partner Atticus Ross, all perfect for a theatrical showing of a high-tech sci-fi opus. But the script was formula stuff with a kind of a sketchy context and pseudoscience that both inspired and required suspension of disbelief. And the characterizations were, to be kind, a little on the thin side. And it was nice to see Bridges back in a cameo as Flynn. Now he's haunting his old digital stomping ground as a ghostly presence in a sparkly robe. He's kind of like Obi-Wan Lebowski. I was like, oh, good. Here's the bringer of all good things. He's calming everybody down. But let's get to the point. The rest of the grid, other than his, old school area of the digital world, is much more developed and sophisticated and lifelike digital warriors played by Jared Leto. And he's Ares, who starts to question his place in the grand scheme of things. And Jodie Turner-Smith, she's a construct that's fine with following orders if it means power, where they dwell. And they zip around on their cyber cycles and wait to be brought into the real world by a machine that is being modified by a treacherous, greedy, power-mad engineer played by Evan Peters. And this guy has co-opted all of Flynn's discoveries and plans to weaponize them for big money. One would assume, government contracts and such. Gillian Anderson is here playing the engineer's mom,
Oh.
who actually owns the company that controls all of Flynn's tech, but she has a conscience. And as the torchbearer for Kevin Flynn's good side, who wants to use this technology as a boon, of all people, Greta Lee. And we love Greta Lee. She was in a terrific episode of The Studio. Most recently, she was the best friend on Russian Doll. She's a really good actress, and she's given very little to work with here. She's just almost like a cardboard cutout, but a good cardboard cutout. Anyway, I watched this thing and I kept thinking, I think maybe this needs an operator's manual. Maybe that's why it's not really striking me as it should. The director is Joachim Ronning, who did 3 really good dramas. One really good drama, Young Woman in the Sea, based on actual events. And he also, of course, did Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. So maybe he's not someone to put up on a pedestal. And there are interesting hints of a movie here that really deals with the concept of AI sentience, but those things are never fully fleshed out, so to speak. And instead, we get spectacle and bombast, which is kind of well and good for the immersive big screen experience. When these digital constructs come into the real world, all hell breaks loose. And man, I have to tell you, the action sequences really, really rock. But it's convenient that this is a Disney movie, since Tron Ares is very much like a Disneyland e-ticket ride. It's fun while it happens, but it's nothing deep or provocative. It's in theaters. I don't know. What was Tony's take?
Here he comes.
I hated every bit of it, and I loved the last 2 movies. So it's just written so dumb. Like, it's people who don't know technology, right?
Yeah, the script was just not very good.
And like, I mean, just real fast, like the first 2 movies, like establish so well the world, of like, the first one is like he breaks into the company and then, the second one he does like, police chase and everything else, base jumping. And the third movie, what does she do? She pushed DIR on an old Kevin Flynn disc. That was her contribution. DIR. She found it. Ooh.
Those action sequences that rocked and 9 Inch Nails weren't enough to compel you, Tony, to like this movie. Huh?
Well, to me, again, the visuals for me, again, just didn't look any better than 2010, which is 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like the soundtrack compared to Daft Punk. Like, to me, this sounded like Trent fell on a bass guitar half the movie. Oh. That was me.
Well,
that's me.
That perspective is really, a valid one. And it's
I
just
wanted to love this movie.
Yeah. By the way, I did not particularly love the second one, and this to me was more fun, but none of them stand up with the groundbreaking Tron, the original film. It's just, and of course,
every bit of
they lean in on nostalgia by bringing in Jeff Bridges' character. They lean in on nostalgia, but it's it's just a trick, essentially. Let's get to I want to get to a movie that's opening wide that I like way better. I really, really loved Roof Man, which is based on an unbelievably surprising and crazy true story about a lovable thief who is trying to make a world better, the world better for his daughter, and kind of reconnect with his estranged wife. And he is captured while robbing a McDonald's. Again, this is an absolutely true story. And this guy's like an army vet. And he goes to these various fast food restaurants and cuts holes in their roofs and then sneaks down into them and pillages their safes and their cash registers. And he's caught. And he figures out a way out of prison, and to hide out, he ends up constructing his own little hidey hole in a Toys R Us, where he stays for a while, eventually meeting one of the women who works there and establishing a relationship with her. And things begin to get more and more difficult for him to keep his identity from her, to keep out of the hands of the law. He hasn't left the area where he was originally busted at the McDonald's. By the way, the name Roof Man is because he would break in by cutting a hole in the roof. It is starred.
Channing Tatum?
Yeah, but it's star-studded. You got Channing Tatum playing Jeffrey Manchester, the Roof Man. You've got Kirsten Dunst playing Lee, the woman that he falls for, who is a divorced mother who has 2 daughters of her own. And, of course, this man, Jeffrey Manchester, wants to connect with these girls. He is basically kept from his own daughter by circumstance. And, he seems like a decent guy, but he just can't give up the crime. And, of course, everything starts to fall apart for him. Other supporting players in this thing, in addition to Kirsten Dunst, Peter Dinklage as the harried manager of the Toys R Us, Uzo Aduba, and of all people, Ben Mendelsohn as the wife and husband who run a local church congregation where the Kirsten Dunst character is a member of the choir. Juno Temple, and not only Juno Temple, but also, this is kind of crazy, you also get the wonderful and talented Lakeith Stanfield as kind of shady characters that are friends of Manchester's. There are tiny roles for Tony Revolori and Jimmy O Yang. This is just a lot of fun. Kurt Gunn, the screenwriter, delivered this, and the director, who was also a co-screenwriter, Derek Cianfrance, really outdid himself. This is just so much fun. I can't believe you wouldn't enjoy this. This, by the way, is the same director who did Blue Valentine and The Place Beyond the Pines. And he strikes just the right note. Those were like powerful dramas, but this mixes a real-life crime story with romance, comedy, and genuine poignance. I really enjoyed this a lot, and it is in theaters across this great nation.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. What's next?
I had high hopes for After the Hunt. It's the latest film by Luca Guadagnino, and it stars a really impressive cast led by Julia Roberts as a college professor whose fellow professor at the school is accused of misconduct by one of the students. And that the colleague is played by Andrew Garfield. The student is played by Ayo Edebiri. And, that's the level of talent we're dealing with here. Guadagnino and this incredible cast. And I just wish this had been better. Despite the attempt to focus on a number of hot button issues, this is one of Guadagnino's lesser movies. It shifts focus as it tries to make a statement about sexual harassment in academia while touching on racism and gender issues and the buried sins of the past. And it kind of results in a movie that meanders when it ought to be sharp and disturbing. And it is buttressed by a fine cast, no joke. The husband of the college professor played by Julia Roberts is played by Michael Stolbarg, who is also fantastic. One of their colleagues is played by Chloe Sevigny. We're not talking about chopped liver here. These are talented folks. Screenwriter Nora Garrett just tries to do too much here. I wish I could be a little more enthusiastic about this, but I have to say I give After the Hunt a meh. Let's call it a meh.
Oh, not a meh.
The dreaded meh.
It's a culture blaster meh. No.
It's in select theaters, and if your theater is selected, think about it. Okay, here's a much better drama, and this thing rocked my world. In fact, the next couple of movies I'm going to talk about are movies that should be thought about during awards season. We'll start with If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. And it's hard to recall a movie protagonist more off-putting than Rose Byrne's genuinely troubled Linda. She is the main character in this psychological drama with this provocative title, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Linda is so needy and annoying and untethered that she spikes any sympathy you might have for her as a wife and a mom. Despite the awful things that keep happening to her, you're still like, oh, good God. Now, this is the closest thing that I've seen to Darren Aronofsky's brilliant hallucinogenic psychological drama Requiem for a Dream from back in 2000, which adapted the harrowing Hubert Selby novel of the same name. In this case, the main character, Linda, is a therapist who is so damaged that she alienates her own therapist, an office colleague, played in chilly, creepy, and effective fashion by Conan O'Brien. This may be his first serious dramatic role, and he delivers. It's not an enormous role, but every time he's on screen, you get his everything. And as Linda's kind of husband, who is not around very much, he's an airline pilot, of all people, Christian Slater. And so we're talking about, again, a really terrific cast, but in this case, you get a very tight and disturbing script. You get wonderful performances. Danielle McDonald has a supporting role as one of Linda's patients who is, prone to go missing. I just thought this thing worked on many, many levels, written and directed by Mary Bronstein. I hope people get a chance to see it, even if only on streaming. Again, it's called If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and it is going to be released wide, actually.
With Christian Slater, have we seen him in anything for a while? Is this kind of a comeback?
Well, he's done a couple of things. I
Has
know
he? Okay.
he's done voice work
Mhm.
on the hilarious animated spy comedy Archer, playing himself as someone who is in bed with the CIA. So that's been kind of an ongoing voice job for him. But he's done some movies that have been impactful. But let's move on to
Okay.
another powerful drama called Urchin. Brutal, heartbreakingly sad, and frighteningly realistic in its personages and in its setting. Urchin is a gritty street level drama about a young unhoused guy named Mike trying to survive on the streets of modern day London, which, by the way, is one of the priciest cities in the world. So it ain't going to be an easy task. Mike is played with depth and honesty by Frank Delane, and this guy cannot get out of his own way. His desperation drives him to make bad choices to get him arrested. Shades of Roofman, right? He has a short fuse and limited skills, and circumstances work against him, but he tries to and turn his life around, and it ain't going to be easy. There's a lot of self-sabotaging here, which also reminds me a little of Roofman, and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I mean, these people are they can't get out of their own way.
Yep.
Anyway, here's something intriguing. Urchin was written and directed by the up-and-coming actor Harris Dickinson, who appears in a small role as one of Mike's fellow street people. It's Dickinson's first attempt at filmmaking, but it is uncommonly accomplished. It delivers an unflinching look at a situation that's now all too common on the urban scene. High marks to Urchin. There's a lot of tragedy here, but man, it's worth experiencing. It is currently on a limited run in various and sundry select theaters. And we should now move on to a movie that you can watch on Netflix that opened in theaters a week or so ago and is also incredibly powerful. It is equally raw and affecting, just like Urchin. It's called Steve, and it's an adaptation of a best-selling novel about the challenges facing a British reform school in the mid-1990s. And these challenges impact the teachers, the administrators, and the students. They include student-on-student violence, the psychological well-being of the staff, and financial problems that put the existence of the school itself at risk. This is anchored by an absolutely excellent performance by Cillian Murphy as the head teacher, Steve. He is supported by Tracy Ullman as a committed school administrator, Emily Watson as the school psychologist, and as the conflicted but sensitive teen student Shy, Jay Lycurgo, who has appeared before American audiences on the DC superhero series Titans, playing a young Robin, Tim Drake, who was the second Robin in the Batman mythology. And this is leagues away from that. I mean, he was good in that role, but that was just, piffle. This is powerful stuff. And it's directed by Tim Milance. And I just thought, wow, this thing is a must-see on many, many fronts. It will, again, break your heart a little bit, but Steve is available for viewing in theaters, but it's also on Netflix. So I encourage you to seek it out. It's bring some tissues, but by all means, check it out.
You got anything a little lighter?
No, I have something, though, that has a major San Francisco component, and it's my kind of sleeper hit. Actually, the movie has been, I guess it was shelved for a little while, and I don't see why or how it should have been shelved. It's called Fairyland. And this movie is a beautiful bummer based on a memoir by a young woman by the name of Alicia Abbott. And Alicia Abbott was the daughter of a poet, and a poet who actually was gay and moved with Alicia to the San Francisco Bay Area and the Haight-Ashbury in particular, in the 70s after the death of his wife and her mother back east. And God, again, it's a beautiful bummer. This is the hate in the 1970s during the rise of the gay liberation movement in San Francisco. This is the time of Jonestown. It accelerates into the era of the 80s, featuring the assassination of Harvey Milk and Mayor Moscone. And there are all these, it's shot largely in San Francisco, and it's kind of a love letter to the city in a way, but it's all about this recent widower, Steve, and his daughter, who make their home in San Francisco, and she grows up becoming more and more aware of her father's life as a gay man. And of course, we're heading into the 80s, which means the AIDS crisis and how it impacts this family. There are exquisite performances by Amelia Jones as the teenage and young adult Alicia. Scoot McNairy he gives the best performance of his life, I think, playing her father, the gay poet, a guy by the name of Steve. And there are even terrific supporting performances by the likes of, are you ready? Adam Lambert. Singer Adam Lambert in his first dramatic role playing Charlie, who is kind of a San Francisco bear who becomes involved with Steve, Scoot McNairy's character. And they live in this Haight-Ashbury Victorian. By the way, this is the debut directorial feature for Andrew Durham, and it shows such amazing promise. This is one of those weepies eventually. By the way, this movie was produced by Sofia Coppola, so it has heavy-duty Bay Area cred, and it is in select theaters starting today. I couldn't give Fairyland higher marks. It is powerful, sad, and lovely in the same breath.
Streaming. Can we talk about that?
Well, sure, if you like. I was reluctant to watch The Paper, but I went into it anyway. It's sort of a de facto sequel to The Office. They went to the well again, but this first season, which is available for streaming in its entirety on Peacock, was actually pretty good and kind of carved its own path, despite the presence of one holdover from The Office, Oscar Nunez, as former Dunder Mifflin employee Oscar Martinez, now the accountant for a failing newspaper in Toledo, Ohio. Here's the star. Donald Gleason, the Irish actor, the son of Brendan Gleason, plays Ned Sampson, eager beaver new editor of the struggling newspaper, the Toledo Truth Teller. If you like The White Lotus, the Italian season, you will recognize hotel manager Sabrina Impacciatore. She plays Esmeralda Grand, the clickbait-obsessed editor of the online version of the newspaper, and Ed's office rival. The supporting players are all good. It does have the ostensible reunion of the documentary crew that made The Office, and they're making a new documentary, this one again about a failing newspaper. I thought it was really entertaining and worth watching. Give it a couple of episodes and you'll get into the rhythm of it. And so surprising to see Donald Gleason play a character like this, and so believably. And there's a couple of breakouts. Chelsea Fry as a young woman working for the newspaper, idealistic, and maybe a love interest for the Ned character. I give it high marks too.
I had scrolled past this one and wondered about it, so I'm glad to hear that you like it. I'm about to give it a try.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's that's been pretty much it. If you like police procedurals and dramas that draw you in and maybe get a little scary, Smoke on Apple TV was something I caught up with. And again, quite a good cast. Dennis Lehane created it, the novelist, and it stars Taron Egerton as I guess you'd call him an arson investigator, and he links up with a police detective, and they're trying to find arsonists in their area that are clearly raising hell on earth, as in fiery hell. And Journey Smollett plays the detective. Rafe Spall is in this thing as a cop. It's really a good cast. John Leguizamo, a disgraced cop, is his character. Greg Kinnear is in this as a very, very supportive boss to the arson investigator. I would recommend this highly as well. It's called Smoke, and it's on Apple TV. I think
Oh,
that's about it for right
okay.
now.
All right. Well, then we're going to recap it. You said Tron Ares had a formulaic script. It was had a lot of pseudoscience, required too much suspension of disbelief. You said there were hints of a movie here, but never really fleshed it out. The action sequences rocked, but you said there's really nothing deep or provocative, and that was your review of Tron Ares.
Yeah,
Roofman.
episodic, and
Eh. Roofman, you loved this movie. It's based, you said, on a crazy true story, star-studded with Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst and Peter Dinklage. You called this movie a lot of fun, and that it strikes just the right note with crime and romance and comedy, and you were highly recommending Roofman. After the Hunt, you had some high hopes for this movie, but they just did not pan out. You wish it had been better. This Julia Roberts movie, you said that they just tried to cover too much, covers a lot of topics, and that caused it to meander. You said it gets the culture blaster, meh. Which
yeah,
is not,
it's the work of Luca. It's the work of Luca Guadagnino, the guy who did Challengers and other fantastic films.
Mhm.
And so, I kind of, you go in there with expectations and they weren't met.
Nope. If I had legs, I'd pick you. You said this had a tight script, wonderful performances. It worked on so many levels. And you recommend If I Had Legs, I'd pick you. I'd pick you. And you said this with award season coming up. This one might get some recognition, and it has
Yeah,
Conan O'Brien in it, which we were surprised. I was surprised by.
supporting role, but it's Rose Byrne's
Yeah.
performance as the lead that should get nomination attention, I would think.
Urchin, you said it's a gritty story about a homeless guy in London. Uncommonly accomplished is what you called the work that went into this film. You give it extremely high marks. You say this is worth seeing. Urchin. Steve, which is on Netflix, you called it incredibly powerful with excellent performances. You said, wow, it's a must see. It breaks your heart a little bit, but it's worth it. Steve on Netflix.
Yeah,
Fairyland.
Oscar winner Cillian Murphy in the lead. The guy who starred in Oppenheimer.
Fairyland, you said you think this one's a sleeper hit. You called it a beautiful bummer, which is rather poetic in and of itself. It's about a story that takes place in San Francisco, of hate in the 70s. So a lot of historical San Francisco-based moments here. You said the performances were exquisite in this movie. You said a little weepy, but you give it very high marks. Fairyland is on your, yes, put it on the I gotta see this movie list.
Great father-daughter relationship, a non-traditional family circumstance. And one more quick note about that. One of the things that was a touchstone for me was when they got into the 80s, there was a KQAK Rock of the 80s ID coming over one of the radios. And I was like, wow.
There you go. Keeping it real. As far as streaming options, well, in addition to Steve on Netflix, you have The Paper. This series you said was entertaining, worth watching. Give it a couple episodes and you'll catch the rhythm of it. And Smoke on Apple TV has a great cast, and you recommend that one highly as well. And that about sums up the culture blaster for this week, Michael Snyder.
Yeah, I'm ready for a little action here in San Francisco while I'm still back home before my return to LA, hopefully later in the month. But I am also thrilled to watch via television the 49ers versus the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay for dominance in the NFC, early dominance. I don't know, but go Niners, right?
Oh, go Niners indeed. Thank you, Michael Snyder. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Woohoo!